to go, and some of these numbers start to come in.
All right, Ken Dixon from number 38 in Rhino, keeping an eye on the Democrats statewide in Colorado. And we'll talk to you again a little bit later on.
All right, sounds good.
All right, interesting, at least as far as it goes for those of us here in Colorado, where a lot of people look to us as whatever you want to call it, the gold standard, you could say, for legalized marijuana. It was on the ballot in Florida, and I'm just getting word now that Amendment 3 there has failed. It would have legalized the adult personal use of marijuana. The Associated Press has now called that has been voted down. Benjamin Albright, are you surprised at all by that?
Not surprised by that state. Surprised that they don't want the tax revenue. I got to be honest with you. Florida's, I've lived in Florida, so I lived in Tampa, and I'm surprised they didn't want the revenue off that because it's a personal choice type thing. So I'm not sure exactly how that one was worded. Maybe there was some fault with the voters with the wording there. But I'm a little surprised they didn't want the money. Not surprised that state shut that one down.
Kind of a scattershot question then for you, Floyd Cerulli, on our own ballot. It took people a long time to fill it out. There was a lot on there to have to sort through. But if there was an amendment proposal or a ballot proposition that stood out to you that you thought would be a driver for voters that would get them motivated to turn out?
Well, obviously, the Democrats were hoping that abortion would be one that turned them out. As you know, most of the money went into 131, which was to reform the way we vote here in this state, and we're talking a very significant amount of money. I thought that, as you know, there's kind of a law and order trend in the country right now, and we had at least two, maybe more, you could argue, law and order oriented ballot issues related to parole, related to bail for the death penalty, that I thought might sort of be a signature that you would look at and say, is that the direction that Colorado's going? California is probably going to turn out their district attorney in Los Angeles, in a very liberal city. A Republican is going to become the new DA, at least that's what the latest polling said. We'll see what the numbers turn in, but I was sort of interested in whether or not that's going to happen in statewide here. As you know, we've had a kind of a liberal trend here in terms of from the legislature in terms of what to do with sentencing, and this might be a reverse at the state level.
A quick question historically for you, Floyd. It's hard to believe, but it's been 40 years since the 1984 presidential election. You were right in the thick of it here in Colorado as the chair of the Democratic Party, Ronald Reagan, Walter Mondale. Can you take us through what that night was like?
For a Democratic chairman, it was agony. It was, as you know, it was one of the biggest losses in recent memory. Prior to that, maybe you would look at Nixon or Lyndon Johnson against Goldwater. Yeah. But you had to go back quite a ways to see a loss like that. And it was both houses here went veto-proof for the Republicans, and most of us attributed to the incredible Reagan, and there was also a good Republican senator on the ballot who won overwhelmingly, Bill Armstrong, who just sort of, when we were talking about coattails, there was a definite sense that there was a coattail there, and so it was an extraordinary night. I think Bob Martin was doing the play because he was so good with numbers. Your top sports person.
Oh yeah.
And it was a relatively long night nationally. Well, actually it wasn't, because it was being called so quickly. But we were watching, various local races. But it was clear the trend was so big that it was over fairly quickly.
Did you have a sense that was coming, that bad of a defeat for Mondale?
Yeah, no, there was. He really had, obviously in Colorado particularly, Gary Hardin was running. He'd been a very competitive nominee.
Right.
He didn't get the nomination, so we assumed that was another problem in Colorado. But beyond that, Mondale was sort of the last of the old-style Democrats, a New Deal Democrat, Labor Democrat. He had all of those characteristics that really has sort of played out at that point. And Reagan, it's
2 hours to process and get all these voters. We had to be in line by 7 o'clock. They do have that cutoff, and someone stands at the back of that line. So this will continue to trickle in. We've got our first precinct results coming in right now. You can follow along at chicagoelections.gov. Right now, we just have 67 out of our 1,291. So those will continue to go late into the night. We'll have precinct by ward results probably early in the morning into tomorrow.
When do you think you'll have 99% max?
That's probably going to be either 2 a.m. or maybe a little bit later into tomorrow morning, but we're going to get all of these voters out of these lines processed. These results will be transmitted, and we should reach 98 or 99 sometime early in the morning.
Max Weber, spokesman for the Chicago Board of Elections, thank you for joining us this evening on election night. We are approaching 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. Mike Flannery and Craig Dellamore. And what we're seeing here is almost like a repeat of 2020. So
this is WBBM in Chicago. Just a second ago, that was KOA in Denver.
Their greatest amount of support from on the national contest. On the national contest, yes. Yeah, we are. It's close there, and I'll just add, as we say goodbye to Max, that I've just taken a quick. I've eyeballed the Chicago Board of Education contest, and I will say non-CTU candidates appear to be leading in about 4 or 5 of these contests. If something. If the independent voices, independent of the Chicago Teachers Union, were able to win half those races, it would be remarkable.
And let's caution, when we say independent, it means people other than the CTU, because there are some other big money factors in this, and those political action committees are not to be ignored either.
I think in 2 of these contests, though, Craig, I think the leader appears to be somebody who's not backed by the CTU or by the Urban Center or some of the other groups that were in opposition to CTU. At least 2 of them seem to be the truly non-aligned candidates winning.
Exactly.
Well, I think what's going to happen later on, if we do have some time, just talk about the contours of some of these elected school board races, because, yes, it is the CTU, the Chicago Teachers Union, endorsed candidate versus someone else. And the someone else has, or someone else's, other people, plural, usually have someone backing them. So we'll talk about some of the contours in that race coming up later in the program. We'll check traffic and weather together in 60 seconds at 7:57.
WBBM Chicago and WCFS-FM at HD1 Elmwood Park, Chicago.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
On October 7th, 2023, terrorists attacked Israel, killing over 1,200 civilians and taking 250 hostages. This resurgence of anti-Semitism in our society is alarming. Today, Jewish people continue to be the target of violent and bigoted attacks. On November 9th, Chosen People Ministries, in partnership with Moody Bible Institute, present the Summit on Opposing Anti-Semitism in Chicago. This event will bring together leaders, scholars, and Jewish believers in Jesus to explore effective strategies for combating anti-Semitism. The summit features distinguished keynote speakers, panel discussions, and workshops designed to equip attendees with practical tools and insights. It is vital for the Christian community to stand against anti-Semitism. Join them at the Moody Bible Institute on November 9th to stand against anti-Semitism and show solidarity with the Jewish people. Register today at moodyconferences.com. That's moodyconferences.com.
7:58, traffic and weather together on the 8th and Brian Peck.
A little bit of flooding on the Bishop Ford inbound as you go around the Stony Island curve there. You're slowing down just a little bit. Take your time there with that flooding. 15 minutes going in from 8094, but 13 minutes going back out. The I-57's 15 minutes in either direction. Everything else looking pretty good. The Eden's traveling well. The Kennedy 17 in from O'Hare. You're 26 back out to O'Hare. Stevenson's good in both directions. The Eisenhower, also the Dan Ryan looking pretty good. 12 minutes from the merge in, 15 going back out. Next traffic 808 News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
AccuWeather forecast for the rest of the evening. Breezy with a leftover shower or 2 in the area. Otherwise mostly cloudy and turning much cooler, and a low tonight of 48. We have 64 degrees right now in Chicago with light rain at 7:59.
Featuring the news that matters and breaking news at any time. This is Chicago's news, traffic, and weather station. News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Good evening, I'm Jim Goodis. These are the top stories we're following in addition to election coverage on News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
2 people are shot and killed at Navy Pier. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dismisses his defense minister. Spanish authorities say 89 people are confirmed to be missing 1 week after catastrophic floods in the eastern Valencia region. And factory workers at Boeing have voted to accept a contract offer and end their strike after more than 7 weeks. On Wall Street, the Dow was up 427 points today. The S&P 500 gained 70. The Nasdaq was up 259 points. Breezy overnight and mostly cloudy with more showers possible. A low of 48. Then for tomorrow, clouds with some sun. A high of 56. Right now with drizzle at O'Hare, it's 63 at 8 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Polls are now closed in battleground states of Michigan, Arizona, and Wisconsin, and CBS News projects them as toss-ups. Also, CBS News projects former President Donald Trump will add South Carolina and Arkansas to his wins. Vice President Harris is projected to win Washington, D.C. for an electoral count so far of Trump 105 and Harris 27. At a Trump watch party at the Palm Beach Convention Center in Florida, this woman says voters want change.
There's no amount of words or campaign speeches that can undermine what we're feeling out here, and it's torture living under this administration, and we're ready for Trump.
These Georgia voters cast their ballots for Harris.
I'm a black woman. I have 4 children, so that's kind of important to me.
I know for a fact that, Kamala is going for reproductive rights, and I have a lot of women in my life that are very important to me, so I just wanted to support them and make sure I got that vote out there.
CBS's Nancy Cordes is at Vice President Harris's campaign headquarters at Howard University.
Vice President Harris made one final campaign stop today to Democratic headquarters in D.C. to do some last-minute phone banking and to thank the staffers behind her bid.
CBS's Weijia Zhang at Philadelphia polling place.
The Trump campaign tells us they are tracking a robust turnout in rural areas where they have been courting low-propensity voters, especially men who usually do not go to the polls. Voters across the state say they are feeling the pressure along with excitement.
When it comes to gender and voting, John Dickerson says CBS News exit polling finds
Kamala Harris has 55% of women to Donald Trump's 43% of women. So she's ahead by 12 points. But just for historical reference, in 2020, when the share was a little bit lower, 52% of the electorate, Joe Biden had a 15-point lead among women.
CBS's Nora O'Donnell has the latest on the closely watched gubernatorial race in North Carolina.
CBS News projects that Josh Stein has won the governor's race in North Carolina. Mark Robinson had been backed by Donald Trump. He had been called MLK on steroids, and then it was alleged by and uncovered by some CNN reporting that Mark Robinson had posted some racist and misogynist stuff on a porn site.
CBS's Nicole Killian at a GOP launch party in the Bay. Watching the turnout here in Georgia, according to the Secretary of State, more than 800,000 votes were cast today, and he expects that to surpass the million mark before all is said and done. That would be on top of 4 million votes cast in early voting, which was a record.
And out on the eastern plains to Fort Morgan and Otis, snowing on Denver, and to the south down to Colorado Springs. Fox 31 pinpoint weather, snow tonight into tomorrow morning, the low 27. After the snow tomorrow, cloudy, the high 35. Currently 40 in Denver. Our next update is 7:30. I'm Tony Manus on KOA. News, Talk, Sports. Now from the KOA Traffic Center, here's Darren Copeland.
Well, that snow is certainly causing slow and slick roads everywhere around the Denver metro area. We did have an accident westbound I-70 right around Quebec. That's gone. A new one, though, at northbound 225 at Alameda. Got a couple right lanes blocked. That's backing things up. Seeing slowing for people trying to make their way up on 285 towards Indian Hills. Delays there. Everything else on the highways is actually moving pretty good. We do have crashes at Havana and Mississippi, as well as at Arapahoe Road and Parker Road that are causing delays. So just be aware of that. This report is sponsored by Audible. Make sure you take Audible on your next flight. Travel with an incredible selection of audiobooks, podcasts, and originals all in one app. There's more to imagine when you listen. Sign up for a free trial at audible.com. I'm Darren Copeland on KOA, 850 AM and 94.1 FM.
Election Day 2024. Colorado vote.
Local, state, and the race for the 47th president.
The choice in this election.
You have no choice but to vote for me. Now, with results and reactions,
We're gonna win.
we will win
This election.
Most important election.
Election Day.
Here's Ryan Schuling.
As we launch into hour number 2 of our lengthy coverage tonight, election 2024 here in Colorado in our Denver studios for KOA. I'm Ryan Schuling. Floyd Cerulli also alongside me.
Devastating flooding. And 81%. In 2020, we got 79, so kind of over. What known was how many people were going to actually. Trying to get your vote, trying to get your voting location is going to be difficult. They were so concerned about this area that election.
Okay, I should be partially set up, hopefully. Hey everyone, welcome. Live coverage of as many possibles of as many radios as possible, and 2 TVs running different channels for the election. Let's see here. I think trying to get my CBS affiliate, since I'm using all my antennas, especially for this TV transmitter right here, which is running KUSA, my local NBC affiliate in Denver, on my again my TV transmitter on my 1979 TV. We got the Sony boombox running KOA on 850, and we have the D808 running WBBM, which we just had the which I may have to move soon because the TV is causing interference. Hey there, Smiley. How are you? Yeah, trying with as much radios as possible, kind of deal. I'm trying to get my my CBS affiliate, but this is all I'm getting right now. So I got that. Sorry about the messy room. I think it's time, and I got my computer running BBC Radio 4. We're gonna record what we see on the CRT on we're gonna record what we see here on the CRT TV over here. Let it track a little bit here. Stop it. Go in EP speed. That way I can conserve tape, but I'm probably gonna get worse picture quality. I just have to find the remote here, because the recording button is finicky on this. It won't record anymore, so I gotta find my universal remote here. Ah, it's right here. Okay. So let me there we go. Alright, so we are now recording on my VCR here. It's probably hard to see on this TV, I'm sorry. Trying to I'm using decks of cards to try and balance this out here. Hopefully this should Okay, no problem, Smiley.
2020, they voted in their home state. The Iowa City kids in Iowa, the Madison kids, and that this time they were all going to actually be in the battleground state. The pandemic.
53% of the votes in, 50-48. That is a number that definitely jumps off the page. A state that Joe Biden won, Benjamin Albright, by 10%.
Slip on my phone here. Let me
That's probably the ball game. The path
prop it again here.
Kamala Harris was always very narrow. Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, she needs both those in the future, but Virginia was one that really felt like that was safe, and it is not safe right now. It looks like we're getting a large undersampling of Latino men voting for Trump in this election. Interesting. Across the tabs that I'm looking here, there's a vast disparity between pollsters and what is happening.
So I think we're going to move my D808 to KRVN on 880.
Has moved it from lean D to likely D. It's just interesting that, again, it's competitive at this point when it was not.
Yeah, I think this is my first presidential election since what's it called? First election for me since I got into the radio hobby.
We turn to Gina Gondek now live in the studio.
Hey guys, how's it going? We are currently following a number of
via
the
TV, and then I'm
Denver
gonna try and
local
figure out
ballot
this
measures. Now, Denver city voters had
tenant
about
work
10
here on
ballot
my,
measures on their ballot. Very lengthy ballot, about 6 pages total. 12 for some people that were actually in the city area for an RTD ballot measure and a downtown.
And again, this is my TV transmitter here. This is not actual analog TV. It's all
coming in pretty quickly here. We're seeing about 1/3 of the
More
votes
than
already
10
counted. So
years
some of
now.
these ballot measures are pretty much on track to fail or pass based on how many we have so far. Obviously, still close to call for some
there
of
it
them.
is.
4 of the big ones that we've been following that Mayor Mike Johnston has been pushing for and could impact a lot of people's pocketbooks in the Denver area is 2Q and 2R. 2Q, the sales tax increase for Denver Health. This one is currently on track to pass. 56% yes with 43% no, about 184,000 total votes counted so far. This one would increase the Denver sales tax by 0.34% on a $10 purchase, raising an estimated $70 million for Denver Health. If you know, Denver Health helps those who cannot pay for hospital services. So this could, if it doesn't pass, force some of those services to be cut. Currently is on track to pass. An interesting one here, 2R. This is the one that Mayor Mike Johnston has been pushing for quite some time. In fact, he even posted a picture on Halloween trick-or-treating and
So there's my
vote for 2R measures on his flyers.
I have my TV transmitter also on my flat screen there.
2R, 52% no votes, about 47 yes votes. It passed. This is the
Oh, what state are you in, Smiley? Let me zoom out again.
For Denver sales tax rate on qualifying sales beginning on January 1st. This could generate $100 million annually for affordable housing efforts in the state. If 2R and 2Q is approved, Denver sales tax could go as high as 9.65%. Currently, it looks like 2Q.
Oh, Arizona, swing state. Your vote matters.
Maybe not as impactful for Denver residents. However, they are very publicized, very advertised. You've seen them all across the city. These are the 2 ordinances of 308 and 309. The fur ban.
There's some interference, so I'm gonna move my.
Fur ban is currently on track. It actually looks like both are.
I'm gonna move my TV transmitter. It's on channel 45 right now. We're gonna go up to.
For the fur ban, for the fur ban and 42%.
Let's go to 68.
This is only 1/3 of the votes so far. Still a little close to call with that one. When we're looking at the slaughterhouse ban, this one milestone, 64%.
Let's try 74, which is a banned channel. Ever since the early 80s, channels 70 to 83 were no longer allocated for TV. But, of course, this TV was manufactured in 1978, so it gets those channels. And for some reason, my RF modulator can get it. It's got a buzz, though. Try 75. Yeah, I got quite a buzz there. Try 72. Okay, should be good now.
And essentially given the state a continued center-right flavor, despite
Put KRVN on there.
from Democrats at one point that this could be a much more blue state at some point.
Oh, popcorn, man. I got some, I had to get a little bit of braces changes the other day, so my mouth is still sore, so I'm like, oh, you know. So let me, Put KRVN back on here.
Races in Iowa that we want to.
These are very competitive races, and
This is a WHO in Des Moines, Iowa.
Take control of the U.S. House. These are what's called targeted races. A lot of money has been spent in the races. I think they're very tight races. So we have Marinette Miller-Meeks against Christina Bohannon in District Number 1, and then in District Number 3, Zach Nunn faces Ladon Bacam. And I do think that these are close races and also bellwether races. If the Democrats are doing well in these races, then they're doing well nationally in their effort to try to overtake the House. But if Zach Nunn and Marinette Miller-Meeks win tonight,
I was able to pull up my Fox affiliate on what's that? Channel 31, my local Fox affiliate, KDVR. Got a staticky picture there. Don't you, TV transmitter? Just the antenna there.
Family and friends tonight, a lot of the donors and other big supporters of the vice president at a hotel here in Washington, D.C. watching as well before they arrive here a little bit later this evening. I'll tell you some of the data points that they are pointing to right now is potentially some good indicators. One comes out of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia.
That pot needs to be cleaned so bad. Crackly volume knob that I need to fix for sure. No, not actually, Smiley. When I first got my braces, they said I was allowed to have popcorn. So, I go crazy on the popcorn now. I think we're gonna pull in another radio here. We're gonna grab my Sangean HDR14. I'm debating if I want to put that on a medium wave station or if I want to put that on my NPR station on 90.1 FM, which does not actually have any batteries in it. It's missing 2 batteries. Get some batteries for it here. And we have nothing playing. Let's put KRVN, or WHO on.
and I think that the Democrats might want to reconsider trying to get the caucuses back here because it provides much needed, infrastructure money for us to compete and capture that momentum to win elections.
Well, love and support, like we do every.
Early, we said there's going to be rural versus urban. What that means is Republicans win rural, Democrats win urban. When Democrats are competing strongly in Iowa, they're learning how to win rural areas. So by shrugging their shoulders and saying we're going to move on.
CPR's Tom Hess talking about CD3. Democrat Adam Frisch, second attempt there, but against Republican Jeff Hurd. Now in Colorado's 5th congressional district, that's the race between Republican Jeff Crank and Democrat River Gasson. CPR Southern Colorado reporter Dan Boyce reports from Colorado Springs.
Well, the 5th district is still Republican Jeff Crank's to lose. It's actually the only congressional district in the state that's never gone to a Democrat, and that's since it was created in the 1970s. And Crank, he's raised nearly $1 million this campaign cycle, and that's more than 6 times his opponent, Democrat River Gasson.
Now, in Colorado's most competitive race, CD8 north of Denver and up to Greeley, and that still remains too close to call. We were expecting that. Congresswoman Yadira Caraveo was looking to win re-election against Republican Gabe Evans. CPR's Benta Berkland.
This is one of the key races in the nation that will determine which party controls the U.S. House. So both political parties have spent millions of dollars and a lot of effort to try to, for Democrats, keep this seat in the blue column and Republicans flip it to a Republican seat. I think a lot of it will be tied to what happens in the presidential race, what the margins are between Harris and Trump for the CD8 district, because that top of the ticket race will impact people's decisions down ballot. This is a district that's working class, It's a diverse district. Nearly 40% of the electorate is Latino, a lot of different communities, and it's something both candidates have tried to lean into.
CPR's Benta Berkland. A big update in the Colorado voting machine's password leak. Earlier today, a Denver District Court judge has denied the Libertarian Party of Colorado's request to decommission any voting machine associated with leaked passwords. The suit also wanted counties to restart counting ballots by hand. This is live election coverage from CPR News and KRCC. We're going to check back more in about 15 minutes. It's 7:20.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda. Get up to a 30% bonus just for opening an account, or up to 12%.
My goodness, KOA and WHR.
Again, Kamala Harris, the projected winner there. Let's pull up the map. The road to 270. That brings Harris down to 34 electoral votes. Donald Trump still well out in front with 168. Remember, 270 is the prize that we're working our way toward. We'll take a break here. It's 9:30 in the East. The vote counting coming in. Our decision desk standing by to make more projections just ahead.
There's a place where global markets are always open, where you can explore and discover innovative new offerings and hundreds of friendly products. Supermarkets is simple open, whether you're trading stocks in London or auctions in Chicago. This place is simple.
20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1.
Well, I shouldn't have adjusted my amp.
Top brands like Lennox. Call CNK today at 51.
You partner with us, we'll make
CNK.com. Hey, heating and cooling, keeping comfort simple. Diamond is one of the largest professional.
My goodness, they're all on commercials.
Do business anyway. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight. If you're 50 or over, you could be taking advantage of everything AARP has to offer right now. Join AARP for $12 for 1 year, and your second membership is free. Get instant access to discounts on everyday purchases, eye care, and prescriptions, and tools and tips to help manage your money and maximize your health. Plus, AARP fights to protect your Social Security, Medicare, and more. Join and get an insulated trunk organizer free, plus AARP the magazine. Call or go to joinaarp.org now.
With that side, create factory-grade visual solutions to perfect your process. That side, make your statement.
Get the latest updates on the 2024 election on the NBC News app.
Welcome back on this election night. The road to 270. You can see Donald Trump out front with 168 to 34 for Kamala Harris. Let's show you how we can characterize some of the states right now. These are states that haven't been called. Virginia, our characterization on that is it's too early to call. More than half the vote in there as well. Let's look at Ohio. We were speaking that a moment ago. 17 electoral votes, not considered to be a battleground nonetheless. We look at it as that's too early to call right now. Also, Colorado, too early to call. Kamala Harris leading now with over 100,000 votes. In Iowa, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, that is too early to call as well.
Sliding my camera prop there. We're gonna turn that down and
Tech headlines and delivers help and advice to YouTube.
come on to Norwich.
Craig Sullivan, who's running for the State House, he's chair of the Adams.
Let's go back to KOA here.
I'm not the future of the Republican Party. I'm 62 years old, but I'm comfortable with that. But I came here to.
Hey, thanks, Smiley.
Because he is, and he,
Prop the camera up again. The D808 fell down.
So So there's a lot of energy in this room right now, but it's at a hum. I think people, first of all, we don't have the results up. I'm looking on my phone. I think you've got a good setup, of course, where you are, Ryan, but there's a hum over the room. There's a lot of smiles, of course, with the Trump lead right now in the presidential race. And there's just a good feeling in this room, and they feel that they have a real shot to pull this out.
All right, Rob Dawson reporting live from Camp Gabe Evans as they are looking for a victory again in what could be a flip district, the 8th Congressional, just the second time around that it's been in existence since the 2020 census. We'll go back to Rob later on when we maybe have a better idea on a result, but let's go over those U.S. House races.
Yeah, the moment I turn 18, I'm registering.
As Rob made mention of, still very early, but Gabe Evans with an interesting and pretty big lead early on, 57.5 to 40, 41,000 to 28.8 thousand votes. Evans over Caraveo, so a good early sign and indicator for Gabe Evans. Sergei Matviak is early on top of Brittany Pedersen in the 7th district, but that's extremely early and not a very representative sample. John Fabricatori trailing Jason Crow. This is going to be an uphill climb, looked to be about a 60-40 district, and that's how it's playing out. Jason Crow currently with just over 60% of the vote, and Fabricatori just over 37. No results yet in District 5. That is Jeff Crank, the Republican, heavily favored against Democrat River Gasson. This is interesting in District 4. Lauren Boebert against Tricia Calvarese. Only a 5-point margin, Floyd Cerulli, at the moment. Boebert looked to be maybe competing better in the 4th than she would have in the 3rd. But there's quite a bit of votes been reported in so far, and Boebert clinging to that 5-point lead.
That is, I think, going to be one of the stories tonight, that while she may win, what happens in Douglas County, for example, what happens in the overall vote. Republicans have won that district by 20 points. Donald Trump is likely to win it by a huge margin, and if she only comes in by a relatively modest margin, and obviously 5% is very modest, it would be a sign that carpetbagger, Beetlejuice, all the kind of controversies that accompanied her, while partisanship still got her through it, and she's got her base of support, it is not as nearly as strong as it would be for a more mainstream Republican.
Another close race we expect in the 3rd Congressional District. Jeff Hurd out to an early lead over Adam Frisch, very strong Democrat who nearly upset Boebert in that 3rd Congressional District the last time around. Still relatively small sample size there with Hurd up 12, but again, a lot of votes to come in. Joe Neguse looks to be sailing to re-election in the 2nd, no surprise there, over Republican Marshall Dawson. He's up 60-37. And Valdemar Archuleta, he is the president of the Log Cabin Republicans, trying to put up a fight in the 1st district against Diana DeGette, but Diana DeGette, she's been there since 1997. She currently has a very big lead, about 78-21. Brief comment right there on those races, Benjamin. Anything that stands out to you?
The Boebert thing in District 3 as well. I mean, there's only 8% of the vote in with Hurd and Frisch right now, so it's a little bit early. But otherwise, no. And then, you mentioned that they're already calling DeGette for. I mean, that was just way out in front right there. So
So those 2 competitive House races will keep a very close eye on the 8th Congressional, the 3rd, and we got to keep an eye on the 4th. Lauren Boebert, again, only a 5-point lead over Tricia Calvarese. We'll have much more after the bottom of the hour timeout here. Keep it locked in with Floyd Cerulli and Benjamin Albright in studio. I'm Ryan Schuling. Election 2024 coverage continues after this on KOA.
Whew, okay.
KOA. Your business needs a network it can count on.
Let me move this around real quick here.
With Wi-Fi backup to help keep your business up and running.
Oh yeah, it definitely is important to vote. Let me, there we go, move that down.
It's from the company with 99.9% network reliability.
Break room, you good? Can't microwave my burrito, but Wi-Fi's fine. Let's power on.
Power on with the leader in connectivity. Comcast Business. Powering possibilities.
Keep your business connected with Comcast.
So we can keep that to stay there.
Wi-Fi backup. Or get started with reliable internet and advanced security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract. Plus, ask how to get up to a $500 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Don't wait. Call or go online today.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on for a bit, Smiley.
Restrictions apply. New customers only with 150 megabit per second internet and security edge. Eco-bill and auto pay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra and subject to change.
Keeping a close eye on interest rates? Take control with Orchard.
For a limited time only, you can take 0.75% off your mortgage rate. That's right. Take 0.75% off your mortgage rate and save tens of thousands of dollars over the lifetime of your loan when you work with Orchard. With in-house mortgage,
See if I can
title,
prop
and
that
brokerage,
somehow.
Orchard makes sure
I guess we
all
can
of
put
your
it like
wholesaling
this,
needs are
maybe.
met. For example, with Orchard,
See if that'll. Kind of. There we go. Yeah, so you can see the listing. So we got the boombox, which is 850 KOA. The D808 is WHO. HDR14 is NPR. 90.1 FM in Denver. And the TV is KUSA, which is the NBC affiliate in Denver.
Election for many reasons, but because of the pandemic, people were voting differently.
Yeah, generally election officials across the country have gotten faster, but I do think that that's what puts Pennsylvania as well as Wisconsin in this stark spotlight, because election officials in both those states for 4 years, Mary Louise, were begging the state legislatures to change the rules to allow them to do this vote counting, or I should say vote processing before election day, but Republicans in both state legislatures would not budge, and so we're stuck in this position.
Miles Parks, thanks.
Thank you.
I now want to bring in Andy Shore, who's the mayor of Lansing, Michigan. He's joining us from a campaign watch party in Lansing for Democratic House candidate Curtis Hertel, who hopes to win the seat left open by Alyssa Slotkin, who's running for the Senate. Mayor Shore, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Just want to start by asking you to tell us what you're seeing there in Michigan and how your fellow Democrats are feeling about Vice President Harris's chances there at this point in the night.
Feeling really good. Really good. We saw incredibly high turnout throughout our city. I went out to a variety of poll sites, talked to a lot of folks, and we didn't know was the turnout going to be lower on election day? Were people just swapping early vote for election day vote? But
call the Cedar Health Neuropathy Centers for a nerve damage screening and to see if you're a candidate for treatment. Don't wait. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Simply call 515-304-9414. Act now. Call 515-304-9414 for your free nerve damage screening. Be among the first 10 callers and get this vital screening for free. Call 515-304-9414.
Well, I'm a orthopedic surgeon, board certified.
Meet Dr. John Herzog, who's certainly done his share of knee and hip replacements. But these days, he's encouraging his patients to look at regenerative medicine options, now available at QC Kinetics.
I'm kind of the anti-surgeon right now, and a lot of my buddies, if they hear me talking, they're going to give me a call.
Dr. Herzog says advances in regenerative medicine can give your achy joints lasting relief, using highly concentrated healing agents from your own body to repair and restore damaged tissue.
We take the fluid out of you, we concentrate it, and put it in an area where they couldn't normally get to, and facilitate healing.
Are you suffering from constant pain due to arthritis or injury? Maybe it's time to look at alternatives to drugs and surgery at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in these exciting treatments.
What could be more natural than using your own body to heal yourself?
Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 515-259-1227. That's 515-259-1227. 515-259-1227. Did you know your life insurance is an asset?
Well, that was just complete commercials the whole time.
Next to that, we're going to talk about that more in just a second. Second here, 31% of voters say the economy is the most important issue to them. That is typically what
We've got a buzz, so I'm gonna move back down to channel 45 here.
voters vote for Kamala Harris. So she leads on that issue. More people who said that democracy was their most important thing backed Kamala Harris than did Donald Trump. She is also leading on abortion as well. It's the flip when you look at economy and immigration. More people who said
Dang, I can't believe the next polls close in 25 minutes. It feels like just like 5 seconds ago, the Eastern polls were closing. Let's move to KOA again.
It's funny because I just talked to you off the air about how they pivoted downward for Harris. Downward for Harris, upward for Trump. At a 75-25, and we're all the way back to a 70-30 split here, going 5% back to Harris or the other way recently. So this is wild. It's fluctuating. It has seen a downward trend for Harris throughout the night. Consistent downward trend for Harris throughout the night, but there have been spikes as different results have come in. Right now, if you're looking at it, it is 29%, back to 30% for Harris, 70% for Donald Trump.
Keep an eye on that. Got some national coverage. We're going to be cutting to ABC in just a moment. As soon as I get the signal from A-Rod, we ready to go to that?
Away from three more. Nevada, Utah, and Montana will be closing as the wave moves across the country with the polls closing right now. Former President Donald Trump is leading the electoral vote count, 162 electoral votes to 62 for Vice President Kamala Harris. And now, all day today, there have been folks watching what's been going on at polling centers. Eric Tisler, counsel from the Brennan Center, they're keeping an eye on things. And anything that your team has seen today, Derek?
No, we continue to see, again, some of these small issues that tend to come up every election year. We know that with over 100,000 polling places in operation across the country, we're bound to see some small technical issues with voting machines. The key thing that we're seeing is poll workers implementing backup measures as they should and making sure that everyone has an opportunity to still cast a ballot.
At this point, do you feel like we're kind of beyond the worry time?
So we're now adding in the Voyager V1R, my first shortwave radio. We're going to have it on NPR on 90.1 FM now. And we're going to move the Sangean HDR14 to somewhere distant medium wave station.
Harris elected in 2020 raises millions for this re-election effort and puts together a team of Democratic all-stars.
Put the
appealing seat for Republicans trying to lift one of the most
Became a great mountain and filled the whole earth.
People look at their phones when they saw those results come in. I saw big cats hunting. That's it over. All right.
Oh, God, without a hammer.
Selfies with Kamala Harris, Honduras, Ishan Thakur. The main that's hard. And one of their main arguments is that hunting big cats Wildlife deserves better and the Western Heritage Conservation Alliance. And those groups say that allowing hunting
Well, we might have to change that out. Grab another radio here. But I'm gonna put on the TV feed for now.
For the unofficial results, there's basically a caravan of cars that comes in. They're all holding from each of the 80 precincts these thick orange cases that have flash drives in them. Bobby, who I'm told has been here with Franklin County for generations, a 70-something-year-old woman, takes the flash drive out, comes in here and brings it into this room. In the room, it's unencrypted. And so they actually get the data up there and they upload it directly to the county site and then to the state site from this room. And all the data votes get tabulated over in these machines. Fascinating to watch. It is actually now.
So we're gonna put the Sangean HDR14 on WBAP in Fort Worth, Dallas, Texas on 820.
So that's the Midwest hold for Kamala Harris and the Democrats. Let's look at the breakdown here. Half the vote in, and it looks like it will be an easy victory as expected. And so we can fill out one more state on our road to 270 map. The state of Illinois going to Kamala Harris. Let's go to Tom Yamas here in North Carolina, where we just heard straight from the horse's mouth. Buncombe County right there. Asheville has been through so much with Hurricane Helene, and Sam Brock has the poll results in his hot little hands.
if they weren't able to vote in their home county. It's interesting. I was going through the numbers. It doesn't look like there's any kind of drop-off there. That's actually better news for the president because there are more Trump voters out there in the western part of the state, with the exception of the blue dots like Asheville, places like that. Here's where a lot of the vote is still out. Charlotte, Mecklenburg. Look, Trump is on top right now statewide. Mecklenburg is the place where Democrats, I'm going to keep going back to Mecklenburg when we talk about North Carolina. This is Charlotte and then the surrounding suburbs. They need to drive up the vote here. It is a majority minority county. Hispanics and African Americans, they have to drive up the numbers here. When they lose races like Senate races, it's because the turnout is not where it needs to be in Charlotte. So not enough vote there. But the good news is there is vote in other places. Wake County, this is the capital. Raleigh, part of the research triangle. You can see Kamala Harris slightly overperforming President Biden with 76% of the vote. Whoops.
So we are actually going to put the Voyager V1R on WBAP, and then we're going to put the Sanjian on CPR News.
Justice was widely expected to win. We're, of course, going to continue to bring you the latest results on all these races taking place across the country as the evening unfolds.
So we're gonna move to WHO now.
Central Iowa's #1 electrician today.
If they're not gonna constantly play commercials.
Head to Menards right now to save big. Really tight-knit community. Balance last week, and that could potentially complicate things even more. So very good. Well, so I'm thinking. I'm looking at Georgia, talking to Doug Collins, talking to people in Georgia. I got some few people there.
Well, I think most women are. I think.
So we're gonna move the D808 to WBBM in Chicago, which is 24-hour news, unless like something like KNX kicks in.
I'm looking at Georgia, talking to Doug Collins, talking to people in Georgia. I got some few people there. They knew the counties better than I do, obviously. And they're telling me things are going pretty strong in their direction, which makes you think, okay, nothing's done, I got it. But then you think blue wall.
Right.
And then we hear that Mike Tobin had said there's problems with some of the voting machines in Wisconsin. And that worries me.
Tell me about the blue wall, because even if former President Trump wins all the Sun Belt states, right, he still would need a blue wall. Which do you think is most likely when you look at the demographics and the numbers?
Well, just because maybe I just know so many people in Wisconsin of power, I believe it's Wisconsin. And they think it's just trending this direction. I think being on with Brett Favre did not hurt. No celebrities don't matter, but sports legends do, especially a recent one. Not that Bart Starr would have heard had he been alive, but that Brett Favre out there, he's just worshipped by everyone in Green Bay and Wisconsin. I think that helps. I think the president kept going back there. So people are really fed up there, and I think there's a crime issue there, and I think there's a farming issue there, and I think the president really addresses that. Now, in Michigan, he's got these two dominant Muslim mayors who endorse him. You know, there's 100,000 Biden uncommitted voters during the primary. They voted for uncommitted, and they actually got two delegates at the DNC before they split candidates.
All of them, the Rust Belt states.
That's it. It's this blue wall, which, as you kind of referenced, that was where Hillary Clinton thought she had a lock, and it ended up losing it by, I think, about 77,000.
I also got the NBC recording on VHS right now.
Trump in the White House. And I would agree.
It's been recording for about
the polling in
36 minutes.
Has been incredibly close and also moving back and forth. And one of the things about the polling is, does it get the shy Republican, the shy Trump voter? There's just been a problem both in 16 and in 20 of missing a lot of Trump votes. And if they tried to correct it this time, there was even some theories that they might have overcorrected, but we will have to see how the votes come in. But she has got to have those three, because without that, she doesn't get the 270.
I think I can correctly state there have been more northern pike caught in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan than votes counted at this point.
For the sake of it, I'm gonna
keep an eye on that
just the
and
vertical
where
hold
it goes
here.
from here. But both Floyd and Benjamin agreeing, and I share in this analysis
There's
that Kamala Harris is most likely path
there's
to
the closed
victory,
captions.
winning those 3 states: Pennsylvania,
Line 21.
Michigan, Wisconsin. We'll have much more when we come back.
So yeah, you
Rounding out
gotta
hour
adjust the
number 2
picture on
of
this
our
thing.
Into the Night coverage of election 2024. Ryan Schuling with you here on KOA.
KOA. Since 1973, Gravina's Window Center of Littleton has been family-owned and operated, proudly serving our community for 51 years. This month, enjoy free installation on qualifying purchases. Choose the best Infinity from one.
Advent will get you breathing.
A close one, and so I look at some of these states. I don't think we have any numbers out of Montana yet, and not enough to know in a number of the states. But I will say that Pennsylvania, which is also, of course, the battleground state in the presidential with our blue wall, is when you see those turnout numbers in Philly, and by the way, also in Detroit, when you look at Michigan, they were just phenomenal. And a lot of times those votes get counted later, and that's the one thing, if I would tell anything to your listeners today, it is to be calm, Allah. Because you have got these 2 key battlegrounds. Michigan's already saying it's going to take a while. And what they do there is they start opening their ballots ahead of time for any community over 5,000 people. So they got all the small ones they haven't opened. Then you've got Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, and their rule, I chair the rules committee, so I'm focused on all this. Their rules for Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, they don't even open up. They don't even start counting these things, as you well know, until today. So I was listening to our correspondent say it's going to be a late night. It probably won't be till tomorrow, given all the people that voted early in Wisconsin. And Pennsylvania, as we know, can take days. So I just think it's really important, because one of the things we know is Donald Trump basically is already all day is talking about cheating and talking about kind of seeding the ground to act like something's wrong if it takes a while to count these ballots. This is the rule in these states, and that's why especially Wisconsin and Pennsylvania take quite a while to count.
You just mentioned, Senator Klobuchar, you chair the Rules Committee. I know you have released a report urging Americans to be on alert for efforts to undermine the election. Have you seen any of these efforts you warned about?
Well, clearly there was Russian messing around with these bomb threats that have been traced to them. Frightening, except thank God we haven't seen any active violence at this point, that we don't have every situation in yet, and the polls haven't closed in states that we still could see some problems. And I know
I'll
that
just inject, you're talking about some issues that we saw today in Georgia and a handful of other states, none of which that all of the officials in those states have come out and said has not disrupted the election. Polls may stay open a tiny bit later. People are going to get to vote. No huge problems here.
Exactly, and I think it's really important people know that. And also, we've just taken more precautions. Also, with the Electoral Count Act that we passed, I'm just looking at a happy Tammy Baldwin there, too close to call, but at least she's up right now in Wisconsin. The issue is that we had to make some changes to that archaic law because one person in each chamber could object and hold up the results in any state. Just see Bob Casey up too close to call. These are making me happy as I'm listening, talking to you.
You're multitasking. I can hear it. Can I jump in and ask you about one other thing? The so-called gender gap has been much discussed in this discussion.
And we've now been live for officially 1 hour. WBAP is fading on me. So is WBBM. They'll come back, though.
The Western Slope, Southern Colorado, and Pueblo. And this race is too close to call, with 65% of the vote in, a 3,000 vote edge for Republican Jeff Hurd, a lawyer from Grand Junction, over Adam Frisch, the former Aspen City Councilman. Frisch came within 546 votes of Boebert 2 years ago. It was the surprise of the cycle. He stuck around with a huge fundraising advantage to make another go of trying to turn that So Lauren Boebert is making it interesting. 75% of the vote in the 4th Congressional District, and Boebert is only up 8%. I say only up 8% because you need some perspective here. Ken Buck, who previously held this seat, won his last election, 2022, by 24%. By 24%. And right now, Boebert has just a single-digit advantage over her Democratic opponent.
Well, that is local stuff. Let's see what KOA's got.
And with the holidays on the horizon,
Commercials.
Hiking. This is WBBM Election Central Alert. And this just in, the Associated Press has just declared Jonathan Jackson as the winner in his bid for re-election in the 1st Congressional.
Sorry about the interference on the radio. It's from the TV.
Let's check in now with WBBM's Terry Keshner, who is talking to Chicagoans at tonight's election watch party at the Empty Bottle in the Ukrainian Village neighborhood. Terry, how's it going there?
Yeah, Rob, there's pizza, there's beer, and a lot of laughs and smiles here at the Empty Bottle, though everyone here knows this is a very serious night as they watch the results come in on a large screen TV. Francesca Downs got here early.
Kamala wins, I'll be happy because I did vote for her, but also, like, she wasn't, like, my most favorite presidential candidate. Obviously, if Trump wins, I'm going to jump off a cliff. I don't want him to win. I don't want him representing my country, our country. Kamala, I feel a little safer, but at the same time, like, you know, she isn't very, like, progressive.
And many of the mostly the young crowd here are saying that no candidate is perfect, but they say that the democratic process is always important. Live outside the Empty Bottle, your Western in Augusta, Terry Keshner, 105.9 WBBM.
We're joined live with the Newsline.
So it looks like Harris has got 81 electoral votes, and I think it just said Trump's got 191 electoral votes, I believe.
Board elections in Chicago.
And of course, we're obviously not going to know who's going to win tonight.
The Chicago Teachers Union put up a candidate in all 10 districts, and it looks like right now they're going to win 2 seats out of those.
Yeah, 81 Harris, 191 Trump for electoral
coming down to the wire there,
college votes.
Between Jennifer Custer and Michelle Pierre.
Matt, we just had Connie Mixon from...
Right now, and obviously he won, but there's still about a 3% discrepancy between Trump's performance and his, and it's like, what is it that made people, when they went to the ballot box, go, I'm voting for Trump, but I'm not voting for Cruz? So I find that's an interesting thought for me. Like, how is there that many people in the state that would kind of divert? Because to me, Cruz and Trump really are grouped together.
Yeah, and Cruz is a controversial guy, but so is Trump, absolutely, and certainly more. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just...
Well, they weren't really campaigning together. You didn't really see the synergy. It was a real, when I was watching the ads here, it was Cruz's abortion, it was Cruz's this. And I think the DNC did a good job of trying to separate him from Trump so that he would not have that momentum. He would have to go solo, and he did pull it solo.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's transition to now what's going on in the presidential race, kind of that national perspective. We are moving along as far as the results are concerned. Looking at the map here up on the Fox News sites, there's a bunch of red, there's some blues sprinkled in there as well. But what I notice is the battleground states, the states are really paying attention to, that being Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona. We still don't have a whole lot out of there. In fact, those aren't decided at all, and we got a long way to go. I asked this off air to you guys. You guys are the political experts. I said, is there a reason why all these battleground states, we don't have results in yet? Texas is one of the biggest states in the country, and we're done.
It's because the election snuck up on them again.
Deirdre Walsh. You are listening to live special coverage of the 2024 election from NPR News.
Release the data on how many people have voted, who has voted, some of the returns until the last person in line across the state has voted. It means numbers are going to be very slow. They can obviously tabulate sort of in person, they can tabulate County. This is an incredibly purple county. People vote the issues, they vote their feelings. They don't vote party lines, which leads us to talk about nonpartisan. It is a third of the electorate in this state. Higher shares than Republicans, higher shares than Democrats. These folks, we're not sure which way they're going to vote. We're just been confounding pundits. And it's been really tough for people trying to read the tea leaves of what exactly the numbers mean. I've spoken to both campaigns in the state. Both seem to think that they have a Trojan horse. Of course, Democrats seem to think that nonpartisans are younger, a little more racially diverse. Republicans seem to think that they're going to skew more conservative. And so we will see. But unfortunately, I think not anytime soon. It could be a minute before we get any sort of results here in Silver State.
All right. Well, please stand by. Nobody sleeps in Las Vegas, maybe not in Reno either. We know you won't be sleeping tonight. Tom, let's look at Nevada, the state that where Republican fortunes have risen.
Probably is not sleeping tonight.
Yeah, you are completely right. They have a Republican governor there. Let's talk about Nevada here. Right now, no vote in. Obviously, it's still too early for us to even start to get data in right here. But let's go to 2020. Both elections, both in 2020 and 2016, the winner were Democrats. Clinton in 2016, obviously, and Biden in 2020. The spread there was only 2 percentage points, a little over 2 percentage points. That's why it's a battleground for us. It's one of the reasons why we're watching tonight. I'm going to give you a primer on Nevada. What you have to understand is a lot of Nevada is Clark County. It's Las Vegas here. This is 3/4 of the electorate here. If Democrats can turn out their voters here, there is no way that Republicans can catch up. Between Las Vegas and Reno, which is Washoe County, this is the battleground county here. About 15% of the vote here. The vote in Washoe actually is more reflective of the entire state, much more than Las Vegas is. It's reflective that it's a mix of both Republicans and Democrats. Democrats have been able to hold Washoe County for a couple of elections now. If they can hold it tonight and do well in Las Vegas, it's game over there. But look at all of this Trump country in the middle. It's not a lot of people, but it is a rural desert. With the exception of Elko, you have some population centers there. And this is where Trump hopes to run the score. Something else we have to understand, I'm going to zoom out a little bit about Nevada, is that you have people from Northern California who have been moving since the pandemic into Reno, right? And then Southern California moving to Las Vegas.
Getting you the most money for your home and 0.75% off your mortgage rate. Ready to save tens of thousands on your mortgage loan with Orchard? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com. Restrictions apply. Please speak to Orchard Mortgage for more information.
There's only one. Our state was forged by passion and determination, and we serve the people behind it. Bank of Colorado, there's only one. Member FDIC.
Peyton Manning here. Throughout my football career. As you're going around that curve, because you will hit a little bit of flooding there just in the left lane. Stay to the right.
Amazing. I learned so much about it.
Traffic 908 News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Back to you with the forecast for the rest of tonight. Breezy this evening with a leftover shower or two in the area. Otherwise, mostly cloudy and turning much cooler, and a low tonight of 48. It's 8:59.
Featuring the news that matters and breaking news at any time. This is Chicago's news, traffic, and weather station. News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Good evening, I'm Jim Goodis. These are the top stories we're following in addition to election coverage on 105.9 FM WBBM. Chicago police say 2 people who were shot at Navy Pier have died. Israel's defense minister has been sacked. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office identifies the Chicago police officer fatally shot Monday night, and unionized machinists voted in favor of Boeing's latest contract offer, ending a 53-day strike. AccuWeather says we'll have breezy conditions and mostly cloudy skies overnight with more showers possible and a low of 48. For tomorrow, clouds with some sun and a high of 56. Right now it's 63 in Waukegan, 62 along the lakefront, 64 at Midway. Drizzle is reported at O'Hare. We're at 63 at the town, 9 o'clock. And actually, we're going to keep it right here in Chicago at 9 o'clock. Jim Goodis, thank you very much. And go to Moe's Cantina in the River North neighborhood, where Eileen O'Neill Burke is thanking her supporters after winning in the Cook County State's Attorney's race.
Million reasons not to get into this race.
Hey, JW.
People I talked to said, "Are you nuts? Why would you do that?" But I had this stubborn belief that I could not shake. I believed that we could make Cook County safer and have a justice system that works for everyone. I know every person in this room wants that. I am so filled with gratitude tonight for everybody who is here. But first and foremost, I have
but Harris did well in cities and suburban areas. And the Fox News decision desk can now project Texas Senator Ted Cruz will win the third term. He defeats Democratic Congressman Colin Allred. In the Maryland Senate race, the Fox News decision desk can now project the Democratic County Executive Angela Alsop-Brooks will defeat former Republican Governor Larry Hogan. Trump supporters are gathered at Palm Beach Convention Center.
It follows the final grueling campaign days as Trump senior advisor Tim Murtaugh. You could tell how much fun he was having. I think maybe he was a little bit wistful on the stage in Michigan because he knew
Swing states, and former President Trump is currently leading with 188 electoral votes. Vice President Kamala Harris has 99.
I want to turn it over now to NPR's Susan Davis. And Sue, tell us what we know at this hour.
At this hour, let's go through the swing states that we're watching very closely this evening, Juana. In the state of North Carolina, about 60% of the vote has been counted, and former President Donald Trump is leading there 52-47 for Vice President Kamala Harris. In the state of Georgia, with about 80% of the vote counted, Trump is leading with 52% of the vote to Harris's 47% of the vote. Trump is leading in places like this, to no surprise, with really robust turnout in rural and some of the suburban areas. Harris has garnered a large percentage of her support in the Atlanta area. And in Pennsylvania, there's only about 38% of the vote counted there. Harris is leading there, 50% of the vote to Donald Trump's 48%. These results are all according to the Associated Press. And of course, Juana, these margins will change as more votes are counted.
Right, we're going to keep watching that, looking for outcomes in some of these key states that could well decide the presidential race. Was taking a look at North Carolina. It's really interesting seeing the Democrat there occupying the governor's mansion for another 4 years. That's Josh Stein, who won that race, obviously an embattled candidate on the Republican side of the ticket. Anything else we're seeing about the state of North Carolina that's worth teasing out here?
I think one of the races that we're looking at there, too, is there's a House race on coastal North Carolina.
Trying to turn out that vote in Philadelphia County. So Chester's one of those ring counties. Let's move over to Delaware County here. She's overperforming there. Only a quarter of the votes in. Let's get to Philadelphia County here. 79%. She's going to want to increase those numbers again. We're still waiting on a lot of the vote. It's still very early. Remember, some of these counties are going to report late. Monco, 28% in. 69% overperforming there. This is where Governor Shapiro is. You may remember that. She closed out her final ad sitting right next to Governor Shapiro, making sure the people of Pennsylvania saw that. And then I want to park on Bucks for a while. Now I want you guys to talk a little bit about Bucks. 24% in, but this is the county, the ring county around Philadelphia, one of those collar counties that Republicans thought they could make some inroads here. More working class in some of those neighboring suburb areas, counties. They say Southern Bucks might be a little bit more Trump country. That may have changed this election. We're going to have to wait and see. But you can see here the numbers aren't as high as they were with 24% in, 56% of the vote. Trump's going to have to try to rump the vote a little bit here if he wants to do better. I'm going to look at one more area before I send it to you guys. This is the swing here. Northampton almost always picks the winner in Pennsylvania. This is Easton. This is Bethlehem. That's that whole Lehigh Valley area there. Biden was at 49. Harris is right there. Look, guys, it's tough to draw any kind of information on who's on top or who's lower right now. Still too close to call. Trump's on top with only about 17,000 votes. You remember the spread in 2020 was about 80,000 votes. So a lot of votes still out here. One thing I do want to mention, there was an exit poll out of Pennsylvania on Latino voters, and they broke.
Tomorrow, cloudy, the high 35. Current
go into the office with my to-do list.
I think overall, when you add both campaigns together,
$1 million if you throw in the center.
That's right. That's right.
No, on one state, I remember making a big deal like 12 years ago. We had $1 billion presidential campaign. One state.
Isn't that so funny? Because it started out as a tie, and now tonight we're ending up, and it's a tie right now. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're going to be living and breathing Pennsylvania.
That's interesting, though, what Tom just mentioned about the exit poll. Again, do your caveats, but for Trump to win the Hispanic vote in Pennsylvania would be
KOA on, we're actually gonna.
Now, with results and reactions,
We're gonna win.
we will win
This election.
most important election. Is KOA. Here we go. Election Day.
Here's Ryan Schuling.
We continue. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Just keep that in mind. Benjamin Albright's been pacing himself. I think he's got adequate oxygen and hydration. I think Floyd Cerulli has the same. He's doing yeoman's work. He's been around the block and back. And we look forward to analysis from both of those gentlemen as we continue. Ryan Schuling with you. A-Rod on the other side of the glass. And joining us now by phone, you can hear him mornings on 6:30 payout from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. He is... Brownie. Michael Danger Brown. Welcome to the show.
Well, gentlemen, how are you? I use the term gentlemen loosely, but how are you?
Yeah, well, MDB, I guess that depends on who you're rooting for here, and we all know that you have an opinion host pundit show of your own. What is your breakdown and analysis of what we've seen so far?
Ooh, sorry about my finger in there. Welcome back, Smiley.
Looking very good. I think...
Thank you. Yeah, I've got the we're going all out.
Conservative newspaper in the country, the infamous old gray lady, the New York Times.
New York Times.
Mission I will undertake with humility and dedication. The way to predict the future is to create it. And today, I am telling you, together, we are going to create something extraordinary. Thank you. Thank you for your faith in me. Thank you for believing in a safe, thriving Cook County. Now the work begins. Thank you.
You've been listening to Eileen O'Neill Burke, Cook County State Attorney-elect, the Democrats declaring victory, a former prosecutor, a former judge.
I got BBC Radio 4 on longwave, on the WebSD on the Netherlands on recording. No WBAP. Move that out here real quick. Oh, that's what happened. That's what happened. It decided to, now it's back.
Done a lot of the work for the Republicans by laying out policy positions that I think were unpersuasive to many undecided voters. And I think it's a good thing for us to be able to decide our elections based on clear-eyed policy visions for the country.
Right through to the end of this campaign, Donald Trump has run a campaign fueled by anger, fueled by...
Thank you. So the whiteboard was just saying which stations we're tuned to. So the Sony boombox, which right here, is KOA 850 AM in Denver. The Seawood on D808 is on WBBM 780. So this is the D808 here. The Sanjian HDR 14 is on the NPR station in Denver 90.1. The Voyager V1R is on WBAP 820 AM in Fort Worth, Dallas, Texas. And then the TV, the actual model is the Sony TV 511, is hooked up to my TV transmitter rebroadcasting KUSA Channel 9, which I may have to pause my thing because it's gotten all weak now all of a sudden.
What's happened in the last half hour is my sources have stopped using the word cautious to describe their...
So I'm going to actually have to adjust that there here real quick here. If it will adjust. See here if I can get the the regular channel now. It's not gonna work there. Just let me adjust the boy, it really does not want to got it all under tangled all up under here as well. really does not want to. There we go. That should be. Should be good now.
A while back, but obviously not the same for Kamala Harris, at least not yet. That indicates that there's clearly some split ticket voters there. Some folks who will be voting for Josh Stein as governor, but then Donald Trump as president. Otherwise, we would have.
What do you mean by that, Smiley? Woo! Not dropping the camera.
That they're able to win. If that happens, and these are all ifs, it's all very early here, that does again shrink their path to victory to 270. They really are relying heavily.
Vehemently disagree, but can still joke around with each other and get together at the dinner table at the end of it. That's the America I know. I think that's the America, if we're being honest, that many of us actually miss. And I hope on the other side of this election we're able to get there again instead of referring to each other as analogies to Hitler on the back of an election marred by assassination attempt. That's not America, and I am eager to turn the page on that, and I can tell you I will do whatever I can to make sure that's the kind of future that we're working towards.
Vivek Ramaswamy, 231 Electoral College votes still outstanding. If Donald Trump were to lose, will he accept the results of this election?
I think that either candidate, if they lose, will accept the results of this election and should and will concede. But I do think that we're tracking towards, it's early in the night, as you said, many outstanding, but I do think that we're optimistic, cautiously optimistic about what the next 12 hours hold.
I would say at the same time that none of the 7 swing states that we're watching have been called yet. They're all too close to tell. And really, I think for Harris, as we're seeing the numbers come in, what it's going to come down to is if she can win the blue states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. It seems to be like that's going to be her.
So what it looks like right now is Harris has, I think, 91, and Trump has, I think, 201 electoral votes. That's what they're saying. I'll have to wait and see if it comes back through.
Charlie, how shocking would it be if the blue wall broke? I mean, what would that say about this election? It hasn't gone, they haven't voted without each other since what, since 1992? Yeah, I mean, it's very.
Yeah, Harris has got 91, and Trump's got 201 electoral votes.
I guess there's a world in which Michigan and Wisconsin could go for Harris, and maybe Pennsylvania, in which case that would not be enough for Harris to win this. The rural vote in Pennsylvania is showing up strong, but so is Philadelphia in terms of Harris, and so there's just so many more votes that need to be counted right now as the night goes on. What does your gut tell you about the way this campaign was run? Do you feel like the Harris
Going to be helping to train prosecutors who are going to professionally bring some additional resources and some additional skills into that office to try to improve the prosecution of murder in Cook County and in Chicago.
Well, it turns out literally having static on makes it black out on the. It's a good thing I have a channel on.
That is changing, but I do want to say the one other thing that she promises to do is to train the police and the prosecutors together in a class.
Yes, all radios are on. The Sony, the D808, the Voyager, the Sangean, and the TV, of course.
At the anchor desk, election night continues on WBBM. It's 9:15.
Now streaming on Paramount, but you have a lot going on. You got a brand new baby, an unemployed baby. Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. New series now streaming.
That the Colorado voters are getting right, and I'm pleasantly surprised. To your point, there's a lot of money that came in for 131. I saw those television ads all over the TV for the NFL. timeout break. Coming back, we got to get in our paid sponsors. Make sure we get our time in there. Floyd Cerulli, Benjamin Albright in studio with yours truly. We just talked to Michael Brown. Ryan Schulen coming back with more election 2024 coverage after this on KOA.
KOA.
Camping
And we saw the Trump campaign hammer some of those issues over and over again. Take a break right here. Coming up next, things are heating up. The votes are rolling in. We've got the latest on the battleground states, and we're inching closer to that 270 mark. Stay with us. Election night rolls on.
Can you believe this, man?
Now we're gonna move it back here to about like that, I'd say. There we go.
By former Illinois Congressman Luis Gutierrez, who's in the swing state of Pennsylvania tonight. Former Congressman, Mr. Gutierrez, thank you for joining us today. It's interesting talking about the fallout from that comedian's performance at Madison Square Garden a couple of days, almost over a week ago, and the fallout from that, the belief that it could have been potentially decisive. At the same time, we're starting to see some exit poll figures coming in that says that Donald Trump is actually improving on his performance with Latino voters compared to 2020. So what can Democrats do to speak to that portion of the electorate?
I think they spoke to that portion of the electorate. I'm reporting for WBBM Radio from Lancaster, York, and Harrisburg, where I have been knocking on doors for the last 5 days, talking to voters. And I will tell you something. When a white woman, about 50, answers the door to me, an unknown person to her, and says, Harris, she's got me, and tell her I'm canceling my husband's vote. I was like, wow, thank you. That was a lot of information. And that's the kind of information I've been getting. So I think it's going to really count a lot on how women vote, because I saw that as the one really strong point. That I see Latinos and Puerto Ricans very angry. They couldn't get to the doctor. They couldn't get to the hospital. They were
looking at are the ones that you were referring to, and it's losing with 56%. Only has 44%. It had, I think they spent at least $14 million for opponents.
Yeah.
The opponents only had a few $100,000. It was mainly party people, as you point out, people who felt that this would undermine both parties. They also, in general, didn't like ranked choice voting, very complicated. A lot of clerks didn't like it.
Right.
So it was controversial, but he spent, and I say he because it's sponsored strongly by Mr. Theory, the major proponent of it. He spent a fortune, and he kept spending it. And as I was watching it, I was thinking, he must know something we don't know, because he had a poll early on and said that it was passing by about 50-some% 55%.
Right.
Exactly, it was going to pass. And obviously either it reversed or that poll was inaccurate. In any event, he kept spending money, which said to me that he wasn't confident it was going to pass.
As the former chair of the Democratic Party here in Colorado, Floyd, can you understand why the state parties were both against this?
Absolutely. But I would also say, and you know this, that with nearly 50% of the voters now unaffiliated, and both parties having tremendous trouble on
primaries.
But in November, what we see is Republican voters here have demonstrated a propensity for splitting the top of the ticket and electing Democrats who are running as moderates. We first started to see this in 2018 when the state elected a Republican governor, but also Kirsten Sinema, who was then a Democrat, to the U.S. Senate. Since then, Democrats have swept 2 more U.S. Senate races. They also rejected MAGA candidates running for governor, secretary of state, and attorney general in 2022. That was a considerable win for Democrats here that built on President Biden's narrow 10,000 vote victory here 4 years ago.
That is NPR's Ben Giles and Ashley Lopez. Thanks to both of you.
Yeah, thank you. We were just hearing a little bit about Latino voters, and I want to stay on that topic and flesh it out some with NPR congressional correspondent Claudia Grisales, because Claudia has been covering Latino voters extensively this election. Claudia, just walk us through how the two parties, how they have each tried to reach this group.
Right. Democrats, for a very long time, had a pretty strong dominating role when it came to Latino voters. But what we've seen is Republicans have made really strong inroads with Latino voters, especially in certain pockets of the country. For example,
Wait till the numbers get corrected there for right now. But Sauk County, we can look at 48% is in. Biden won this in 2020. Trump won it in 2016. 47-50. You can see Trump's overperforming there. But again, still a lot of the vote is out. We're going to have to wait and see on what happens. And in case you're wondering, Sauk County, home of the International Clown Hall of Fame. So if you ever want to go down there, you're near Madison, drive over to Sauk.
We're getting to the witching hour. We got the fact alert from Tom. Welcome to the club. Yes, exactly. Let's go to Stephanie Guff. She's in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. A lot of hopes riding on Pennsylvania for the Harris campaign. What do you know?
Yeah, there certainly are, Savannah. You know, we are here in Philadelphia at the Tabulation Center. This is where they're going through all those mail-in ballots. And, you know, we've been noticing in recent weeks and months kind of a lessons learned category from 4 years ago. And this place is a perfect example of some of those lessons that have been learned. You may remember in 2020, the tabulation of the mail-in ballots in Philadelphia took place in downtown Philadelphia, and it was basically chaos. Now, they're in this entirely new building. It is secured by a fence with barbed wire, and they are doing tabulation inside. We're actually not allowed inside, but it's going on as we speak right now. And one of the unknowns back in 2020 at the end of the night was, well, just how many mail-in ballots are there out there? We don't know. Well, tonight, right before midnight, we're going to get a briefing here from the city commissioner, from Seth Lucy, and he's going to tell us how many of those mail-in ballots from Philadelphia have been processed and how many they have yet to process, to give an idea of how much more time it is going to take. All of that, more transparency, this more security, so things go much more smoothly. Savannah?
All right, thank you, Stephanie.
Back with our panel and guests, former Missouri Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill and Mark Lauder, former Director of Strategic Communications for the Trump 2020 campaign. Good to have you both back. How's the blue wall looking right now, Senator?
Well, you know what, I just got to say, with the exception of Brave and Seltzer and her poll in Iowa, where clearly she's...
I would think for the Oscar folks, they would like that lead to be a little bit bigger before it gets way dark.
Let's look at public power districts, three that are in there so far. Central Nebraska Public Power. Let's see here. In the Kearney County subdivision, there's Matt Wells. Those ahead of 66%. Phelps County subdivision for Central Nebraska Public Power. Gary Robinson is at 75% over David Ford. Going down here a little bit more along the region. Custer Public Power District, 6-year term at large. This one's close between Tom Roberts and Troy Beck. So far it is Tom Roberts with 51%. Custer Public Power District for Buffalo subdivision, 50% for Danny Wilmot. Bradley Bodine is at 49%. Nice. Let's see here. The Dawson subdivision now, from what I understand, is the top 3.
have mishandled the issue? Absolutely, I think they've mishandled the issue. I think we always talk about security at our border, and they didn't do enough. They didn't do enough. They didn't respond. They let them. How would I say it? They let them define, right? When you let your opponent define you, you're done. It's over.
That appeal to them. Many of them either weren't old enough to vote before or maybe didn't participate in politics in the past, but they were drawn to him for a variety of reasons. Down ballot in Maryland, ABC News projects Democrat Angela Alsobrooks beats Republican Governor Larry Hogan to become Maryland's first black senator. And Republican Senator Josh Hawley's been reelected to his Missouri Senate seat. This is ABC News.
KOA News Time, 8:31. This is Election Day coverage on KOA. The latest numbers from key Colorado congressional races in District 8. The incumbent Yadira Caraveo at 50%, Gabe Evans at 48%. District 3, which is Lauren Boebert's open seat, Jeff Hurd at 50% and Adam Frisch at 47%. A familiar face has won her race. It's just been called live in the KOA newsroom. Here's a familiar voice. Kathy Walker.
Well, in Colorado, Tony, we have had members of Congress change parties in my lifetime, but changing districts, remarkable, unprecedented. Tonight, Lauren Boebert has done it, giving up her 3rd district seat to move to Windsor, running for Ken Buck's seat in the 4th. Boebert now leading Democrat Tricia Calvarese by more than 30,000 votes. And that, my friend, appears to be the rest of the story. Boebert wins. Reporting live, Kathy Walker, KOA.
A massive band of snow on central and eastern Colorado tonight. It reaches from the north around Fort Collins, Loveland, and Greeley, down through Denver to Castle Rock, Colorado Springs, and Fountain. Snowing on the plains, too.
All right, same question to you. What's the energy? What's the mood? What's the vibe over there at Howard?
Yeah, I would say I think it's sort of shifted from the original couple hours when folks started coming in. You know, there was a lot of music and dancing and performances on stage, and now the crowd has literally shifted from like facing the stage to turning to some of these really large TV screens that they set up here on the yard, which is Howard's like main quad on campus outside. I would say, you know, there's a couple thousand people here and folks are cheering. CNN is on playing on the TV screens. They're cheering whenever there's good news about Kamala Harris, but otherwise it is like an intense focus is how I would describe it. People are very, very, you know, very attentive watching the screens and listening to what's going on. It's quieted down here a little bit just in the last hour or so. I was texting with a Democratic source who was saying, you know, there are some nerves at this point, but acknowledging that this race was always going to be close, and it's kind of that realization coming in that counting votes is a slog. It takes some time. So some nerves, but also, you know, not counting anything out yet. I will say there is a large group of Harris supporters and donors who had gathered at a hotel in downtown Washington, who some of them have started to kind of come.
It's going to be District 3. It's going to go to Trump. There are 2 other congressional districts, 1 and 2, that we're still watching. Nebraska District 2, this is the big one that we've been watching. It's the swing district. The other one, Nebraska 1, usually goes red. We're still waiting on some vote there. It hasn't been called yet. But again, Nebraska 2 is the big one because if it came down to that 269 scenario, we go, Omaha. Nebraska 2, Omaha, which is Douglas County. It's also a neighboring conservative county, Saunders, and a little bit of Sarpy as well. I think we just can't call it. The difference is 22,000 votes. That's what the difference was in 2020 when Biden won the state. So Democrats are in good shape right now. It's unclear how much of the vote is out. Let me see if I can come back and see if we can get how much of the remaining vote is out in this state. We can't check it just yet. As soon as we have a call on Nebraska 2, we'll bring it to you. It's one electoral vote, but in a razor-tight election, each electoral vote is important, guys.
All right, let's take a look at the battlegrounds of 1035 and the East 735 in the West, and we've got all battlegrounds
closed right now and votes being counted, and too close to call is something you're going to hear me say a lot over these next few moments. That's the story in Pennsylvania, about 58% of the vote in there. In Michigan, also too close to call. It's battleground state where both candidates spent a ton of time alongside Wisconsin as well, too close to call at this hour, still counting about half the vote in there. Let's go down south, the Sun Belt path. Georgia, too close to call. Biden won it by a hair in 2020. Donald Trump trying to get it back tonight, too close to call. In North Carolina, we're still calling it too early to call, so we're waiting for more vote there, even though 84% of the vote is really called. We just had the polls closed there about 90 minutes ago. They gotta wait a little bit before they can even start counting votes there. And same thing in Nevada. It'll be a while there. And in fact, if you mail your vote in Nevada, I think you can mail it. It could be land there as late as Friday, actually, and still be counted. Those are the rules in that state. So here's the road to 270, and it's being filled out along the familiar lines that we've all become so familiar with over these last couple of presidential cycles with those big question marks. Tom, let's go to Pennsylvania, because I think this is, we've often said this will be the ball game, and we're starting to get more vote, and maybe we could look at some of those bellwethers, like in Erie County, for example, or Lackawanna County. What are you seeing?
Yeah, we're also seeing some outliers as well. And I want to show you what I'm talking about. Center County, it's in the center of the state. This is red right now. 68% of the vote is in. Biden won this in 2020. Hillary Clinton won this in 2016. Why am I highlighting this county? Let me move the map over again. Center County, this is Penn State. This is Happy Valley. This is a university county. The Democrats should be on top right now. Again, there's 68% of the vote in. They could still catch up, but Trump is on top right now. I want to go back to Eastern PA again, which has changed because a lot of people from New York and New Jersey have moved to the eastern portion of the state. We're talking about Northampton. This is one of those bellwethers, Savannah, you were talking about. It almost always picks the winner going back to about 10 years, I think. Trump won it in 2016. Biden won it in 2020. Right now, Trump's on top. 73% of the vote is in, so there's still vote out. Those things could change. Again, it's still early. We're not calling these counties as well. I want to zoom in here. This is Berks County. I'm going to zoom in. Reading, PA. This is a city where Hispanics are the majority here. 90% of that he's overperforming. He won this county in 20. Vote is still out. We're watching that. Finally, I want to look at Scranton. This is where Joe Biden was.
Well, I've ended the recording on my VCR here.
She's underperforming tonight. 51% right now.
Put it on CPR.
So voting yes on Prop 127 enshrines that protection. In terms of how many animals are killed each year, it's not a gigantic number, you know. The state says around 880 bobcats and 500 mountain lions are taken by hunters each year for the past several years. There's also exceptions to the ban, so it's not a total ban on hunting. These exceptions are things like self-defense or even scientific research, and the state also has certain funding mechanisms to compensate landowners if their property is damaged by big cats and big game. So right now, mountain lions are classified as big game, and that means that if they damage, you know, a fence or kill livestock, the state pays those landowners some amount of money. If Prop 127 passes, that means that the state can no longer do that under the current way it operates, but it's super likely that there'll be a legislative fix and that NGOs might provide some money in the interim.
That's CPR's Ishan Tankor. Besides election night, snow is falling across parts of the high country, and more could come for the mountains and lower elevations tonight and tomorrow. There's a good chance for heavy snow tonight and tomorrow in the Pikes Peak region and near Castle Rock and the Palmer Divide. A winter weather advisory is now in effect for Boulder, Denver, and the western suburbs of Denver.
Patrol ways, I-80 south, west, south, and northwest Indiana travel well now. Next traffic coming up at 9:48. News Radio 105.9 WBBM. Back to you with the forecast for the rest of tonight. Breezy this evening with a leftover shower or two in the area. Otherwise, mostly cloudy and turning much cooler in a low of 48. Then tomorrow, clouds, breaks of sunshine, much cooler than today, and a high of 56. Right now, we have 63 at O'Hare and Midway, 62 at the lakefront, and in Naperville, partly cloudy skies, 61 degrees, going down to 48. It's 9:40. Harris, Trump, live numbers and analysis. Election Central, News Radio 105.9 WBBM. Let's check in with WBN's Jim Goodis, who is covering the history-making election for members of the Chicago Board of Education. And Rob, it's making history because, again, it is the first time that voters in Chicago get to select members of the Chicago Board of Education. 10 seats are being filled by voters tonight, and right now, of those 10 seats, the Chicago Teachers Union-backed candidates are leading in 3 of those races. One of those races was uncontested. Candidates who are supported by organizations that back charter schools as well as school choice lead in 3 of the districts. In others, where the candidate who is leading is not backed by either group, they are leading in 2 of the districts, and 2 of the districts are neck and neck. Pat Gorski is a political analyst who said there's one thing to keep in mind about these races and what they could mean for the Chicago Teachers Union and Mayor Brandon Johnson.
If it is a referendum on Mayor Johnson, it's they're throwing him out. A lot of this is egg on the face of both Brandon Johnson and TTU.
But for now, Mayor Johnson will have the balance of power as he will appoint 11 of the 21 members of the new school board. But in 2026, all 21 board members will be chosen by voters. Live at the anchor desk, Jim Gillis, News Radio 105.9 WBBM. This year's history-making election for a seat on a new Chicago Board of Education has sparked intense interest among political groups across the area, which seek to influence the direction and management
that were in play. She may not win any of them. Now, of course, we're jumping way ahead here. There's still votes to be counted. But we know, number one, that the blue wall is what the race is all about at this point for her, to have any chance of hitting 270. It looks like she's struggling in all 3 of those states.
Benjamin, I want to bring you back in for a topic that you brought up earlier. I think it was Cogent Analysis about Hispanic male voting, Hispanic voting in general. It is a large part of the population in Michigan, whether it's Lansing, Grand Rapids, Muskegon, all along that corridor. This is an exit poll from CNN just released in Michigan that Trump is leading Harris among Latino voters in that state 60-35.
Good Lord. That is a group that went for Biden.
Correct.
So that has really been the story, I think, of this election, is an undersampling of Latino men and how hard they went for Donald Trump in this. I saw it early when you brought up the Florida numbers. I started hitting the crosstabs, and that one just jumped out at me right there. It was a 12% disparity based on the last cycle. Looks like it's even wider. There, would you say it was Michigan?
That was Michigan.
Yeah, it's even wider there in Michigan. So that is the story of this election. It's funny because when Trump ran the first time, one of the things that I said was that the Republican Party really needed to switch to 2 focuses. Number one, they need to go back to being the party of the economy, and they need to outreach to Latinos.
Yep.
And it kind of like in 2020 showed.
Your point. Pamphlet things that sort of gave direction to the election workers, all of that stuff coming in now. It's coming in waves. The first wave of stuff that was brought in from precinct captains on were the memory cards with the vote. That's something that election workers tell me is a way, a thing that's changed over the years. They said they used to get everything, the election materials that had to be returned, provisional ballots, and the memory cards with the votes all at once. And because it took a while to clean up, it would take a little longer for those memory cards to come in. Now they get the memory cards first, then the rest of the materials. The memory cards, they're actually in all these little bags. You see them zipping there. Those are from 156 different precincts. Each precinct has at least 2 memory cards that have the vote count from today on them. They go in here, they get processed, and they go out to the public. So they're still deep in that process right now. But let's go again to the back, because this is where we see a lot of activity happening on and off, whether it's the early votes being processed and scanned and tabulated, or mail-in ballots being opened and sorted, or provisional ballots being reviewed. So remember, the thing that we were watching in this county was what would the margins be like, because it leans Democrat. We expected Democrats to carry this county, but ultimately, back in 2020, Donald Trump got 40% of the vote in Gwinnett County. And what Republicans were hoping was that they could notch that up by a couple percentage points. They could cut in to Harris's margins, and then if they also did well in Republican strongholds, could potentially carry the state. What we're seeing in turnout is turnout so far has exceeded the turnout numbers in 2020, and right now, based on what has been entered, Trump is holding at about 40%. So right now, those extra percentage points haven't come. Could that change? Yes, that's Tom Yamason's lane. We'll leave him on that. Over here, though, is where they're going through some of the different election lists. You can see them in the back here, Savannah and Lester. busy working. They will be here.
Ah, yes, digital TV static where you get nothing.
Kamala Harris is one that's
The Voyager just does not want to cooperate.
About wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS action. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation. Call 800-955-0657. 800-955-0657. 800-955-0657. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. You got a pesto predicament, moviegoers. I can really send the car. Sorry, I ate that entire tub of popcorn. Extra butter. You overdid it, and now your movie has turned into a blockbuster bellyache. Undo it with Pepto. When you have nausea, hyperhidrogen, Pepto Chewable provides fast spike syndrome relief, so you can focus on the action on the big screen instead of in your stomach. When you overdo it, undo it with Pepto.
Well, hey everyone, I'm going to end the stream here. Thank you for joining me on this coverage. I'm going to get ready and read and head to bed. So thank you all for joining me, and I will sign off with me turning off all the radios.
obviously going to break for Kamala Harris, but are the
Sleep. Thank you, NyQuil.
9 News for any weather impact. And get the latest anytime on 9 News Plus.
Good evening and welcome into Decision.
Well, first we should probably do this, actually, before we turn off the TV.
NBC News programming in just a moment. A look at some statewide issues.
Turn off the amp, and then